Hey everyone, yeah, so it's Flame Dog 3. Alex Tyler. I did top third. I went 13th in the Battle Harden a week ago in Chicago. Some people were asking for this, just a deck tech on what I was running, how the deck works. So I play Slayer Boltyn. We love Boltyn here. Big Milb energy, but with that, a lot of people have questions on his new cards and what I was thinking, how the event went, things like that. So I figured we would just dive in. So this is my list in general. I'll do card by card here just to run it through. But obviously, we'll start with Crown of Providence. So you have that, or you have Helm Sharp Eye. I think those are the two major equipments for contention right now. This deck doesn't have a resource floating all too much because we don't play the Bannerette Vigor. I think the card's pretty bad in a lot of senses. The resource usually just left hanging. You can whiff off your helm. Like it's too high rolly for me. So I just don't. I think the Banner Vigor is just like not worth playing ever, unless it enables a lot like your deck. You can build your deck around it. This deck is not built around it. So with that in mind, we have Crown of Providence. You can play Skullcap in the spot. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. This Crown lets you filter for a charge card if you don't have one. Pretty simple stuff. Iron Song Versus, another crazy card in the deck. Obviously, every Boltyn player knows this. Gets you Courage Tokens, enables your combo starter. You use this probably once every 3 turns. We play it in every matchup that's not Wizard. It's so good. It is actually crazy good quality. Now this is now a pure rating build. They're in the sideboard. There are no savers. We used to play Jabeel for Wizard, but it's not needed anymore with Soul Bond. But with Raiden, it's just a mid-range list where we're trying to block a few cards every turn, swing back 7 to 8, just get out value, and then essentially just explode and just have a death grip on the game. That's the idea behind this deck. We're really trying to get to the late game as soon as possible without like saying I can race or things like that. But this is Raiden build purely for Raiden, focusing on Soul Bond as your chess piece. I skipped over snaps. I mean, there's not a better leg piece. We've tested Valiant Dynamo in this deck. Doesn't work. Snaps aren't even that important anymore, but it can enable like 1 or 2 cards that actually help you. So that's something that I'm just gonna do. Just use it. Use it when your soul's low, early game. It doesn't really matter if you think you're gonna use it. Use it. I never use it to swing Raiden, but unless you're getting a draw off of Bolt of Courage. A lot of times, what I'll do with snaps nowadays is like I'll play my Bolt of Courage, charge a card on a 2 card hand, and if they don't block it, I snaps it. If it just comes down to me swinging Raiden at the end and eating like a Fate or a Sink, that's a big win. I'll trade like that means that their hand's probably not that great. If they're fading or sinking, it's a 4 card hand. We're probably not gonna take that much damage the next turn. So throwing 3 that they're gonna just eat back is fine. Like it's not the best use of Snapdragons, but it's something that happens a lot in this deck because we just don't need snaps anymore. Soul Bond, this card's crazy. I can't express enough how much I love this card. Um, it's really good in every matchup, which we'll go into matchups here shortly after I express every card in the list. But like Soul Bond's the card I use in every matchup. That's not a fatigue matchup, which again we'll go over. This card just generates so much value. It generates 5 to 6 value per game if you're charging with it properly, which is slightly over what you get if you're just blocking with the card. It's really, really good. So you we'll get into it more, but Soul Bond is probably the best card in this deck. So now going to main board, we main board 57 cards. It's like more so 55, but I think it's like 57 now because we play Engulfing Lights now um over Spirit of War. But on red and yellow Bravado is crazy. Best charge card, like period. It starts everything up. It's just so consistent. Like it's the one card I said I wanted before Dusk Till Dawn to get in Boltyn, we got it. So it's crazy. Bolt of Courage, standard staple, running red, running yellow. We might there's some talk that we're talking about editing this, but like for now, red yellow bolt obviously mainstay in the deck. Can't really go anywhere. So now we have 2 red engulfing light, 3 yellow engulfing light. A lot of people ask me why I'm on yellow engulfing light. It's pretty simple. It's a yellow charge card. There's no other better yellow charge card out there that takes its spot. It's just it's It generates soul value. It draws blocks. It's a shittier illuminate. That's fine. We're okay with it. We just it will get replaced once we get a better yellow charge card. But right now we don't have that. It's a good thing I think that our worst yellow charge card is it's light the way yellow, which we'll get to, but is like still very playable and not awful and lets you move the game plan forward. So that's why we're on it. We just need more charge cards. We're at 31 right now. And then running golfing light specifically, this used to be Spirit of War. And Spirit War only played into aggro matchups, and it was good there. Like it was really really good there. But we wanted more consistency into matchups that were like Dory or like our fatigue matchups. And Reading Golfing Light just does that job better, having the extra soul to like possibly beacon bomb someone at the end of the game when they're not expecting it, or even when they're expecting it, they can't answer a beacon bomb. So like there's just no way unless they're playing 20 defense reactions then. But you should be at the point of the game if someone's trying to fatigue you, where they just don't have those options anymore. That's why we're on Golfing Light. Illuminate. This card should be in every Boltyn deck. Not even a question. I don't care what Boltyn deck you're on. This card literally reads 0 for 4, no downside. Like it blocks 3, comes in for 4, enables your game plan of going into Soul. It's Boltyn's best 1-card hand besides beaconing Raiden for like 17. That doesn't happen too often. But Illuminate should be in every deck. It's too good. Light the Way is a card that a lot of people are iffy on. Red Light the Way is crazy into aggro. It comes in for 3 charge, basically free go again, lets you maintain a game state such as like coming in for 3 and possibly 4. So a 3-card hand might be 10 damage if you have Illuminate in it, which you're okay with. It's not anything fantastic, but it's fine. We just got to make sure we're getting those. Like if we're charging a banner red, it gets even better as long as it's not gallantry. It's 3 on hit, gain a life, so now it's a 2-card 7, which is pretty good. For not having to pitch anything. It's a 2-card 7 that requires a yellow. It's really good, and I think life gain is more important in this deck than actually doing damage to your opponent, because you want to be able to leverage the fact that you are going to have an explosive turn. Especially in aggro matchups. Like you really, really need that one explosive turn to take over the game and get, like, again, we're trying to choke our opponent out of the game once we get to late game. We're trying to get there as soon as possible. The way that we do that is by gaining life. Gaining life is so important in this deck. But yeah, so red's guaranteed. Yellow, okay. So we have yellow Light the Way, and this card is awful. But like it's fine. It's a yellow charge card. You're okay with it. We're at 20 on the weekend of the Battle Hardened. We weren't on this. We were on a slightly different list, but we weren't on Yellow Light the Way. We're only on Yellow Light the Way now because we needed more charge cards. This card gets charged 95% of the time you see it or blocked with, and you're okay with that. You just need to make sure you get an enabler though, or just another random charge. Like you could play Express over this. Don't. Express is a bad card, but if you want 1 extra damage, I guess you could go put Yellow Express Lightning in here for 3 for 0. I wouldn't do it. I would never play that card again. Express Lightning is one of the worst cards of the game. And then yeah, so Light the Way is great. I would like Yellow is iffy. Probably once we get a better charge card, this is the card to go. That won't be for like 2 years, but for now, with this list, Light the Way is in, at least in our testing purposes. Next cards are going to be the Bannerettes. So we're on 12. We have 3 in our sideboard. We have the Spellbane ones in their sideboard. We're on Banneret Courage, Gallantry, and Salvation. A lot of people say this, you brick on these, and yes, you do. I'm not going to lie, you can brick on these. But it's okay. We have Soulbond Resolve. Soulbond Resolve lets us not brick on these. So one of the best lines in this deck is literally going Soulbond, blocking 5, floating 1 damage, charging Gallantry, and having a red bolt charging into 3, go again, on hit, draw. It just swings the game back in your favor. Like, because it sets up a 5-card hand if they don't want to block it. Otherwise, it sets up your opponent to have a 4 to 3 card hand if they have an arsenal or not. Like, it's just so much value. And that's what this deck likes to do. It's generate value. We're only trying to generate value off our cards. So, like Soulbond, we will use the block for Banneret Courage, or Gallantry. Gallantry is the biggest one. Gallantry gets abused. Like, Soulbond abuses Gallantry. So because it's just, it makes sure we have a starter saves this soul. It's so much value. So like if you block with Soulbond, charge with Gallantry, you're getting 3 blocks. So you're getting the 3 block from the card. You're getting 1 block from basically 1 value from the Quicken, 1 value from the Charge, 1 value from the Soul. So your 3 block has become a 6 block in the sense of like how much you're progressing your board state. So you're getting your equipment red 6 value that turn. It has a 2 defense stat and a red 6 value. That is crazy, crazy, crazy good. You'll take it. You can't get those numbers off of Tunic, baby. You just can't. So Banneret Courage is probably one of the best cards to just charge like normally. Salvation's actually probably the best one, but Courage is also just really good because it just enables so much in your deck. Like it's just 1 extra damage. Again, we're trying to get to the end game as fast as we can by blocking. Like it's a weird and counterintuitive statement. Like we are looking for our turns to strike. It is a very like big deck to be like, well, I have I have a single Lumina turn. I'm going to use it. Like I'm going to like play a 3-card Lumina turn because that's just quickens the game. We're just trying to play these 3-card hands. So when we have a full blowout turn, we can just like blow the opponents out. So that's Courage and Gallantry. A lot of people hate Banneret of Salvation. They hate on this card. I don't know why. This card literally does so much for the deck. It's a 0 for 3. Killing someone with a Banneret of Salvation is hilarious. Like, it's on rate. It's a yellow 3. Like, you take that. Like, that's fine. And when it's charged, you gain a life. So it's a 0 for 4. But it's when you charge, you just like you're going like it makes people not want cards to hit when you gain the life. And it lets you create these late game states where it's like, well, I gained 5 life in the game. I ended the game at 2 life. It happens so much with this deck where when you win the game, you're at 2 to 3 life and you charge 2 salvations, you gain the 2 life, and you did a lot with it. Like, so Salvation's crazy. I'm on 3 of it. Yeah, I don't think 3 might not be correct. 2 might be correct, but like I have a hard time cutting it. I really want to leverage charging. Charging is such an important thing to this hero, and it's always a downside. I'm trying to make sure it's not a downside. We can't keep playing with 3 intelligence forever. Beacon, don't need to explain Beacon. I guess like one thing, sometime in fatigue matchups with Beacon, I will go search out Spirit of Irina or Erina early. And Spirit of Erina is like really important for our fatigue matchups. This is Dory, Yuzuri. Like Yuzuri, this is the first thing I do. I think you have to have Spirit out in order to make that matchup even slightly favored or close. Like you can outplay Dory as outplay Yuzuri, as outplayed any assassins, really, Tree Shrug Dash, but you need Spirit. Like you have to have it. I will burn 1 beacon for a Spirit, and then I will pitch deck another one. Like that, this card is so important to this deck in so many ways. We're playing around Beacon. We're not playing around V or Lumina. Beacon is the card we're playing for. So we want to set up our board state as fast as possible. And if we're sitting there thinking we want to draw a card, you might as well just go tutor it. Like if you have the availability, if you create so much soul in this deck that you can just go grab it. In those matchups, it's pretty big. So yeah, I think on the stream game, I could have tutored it. I didn't. I tutored a double Lumina turn instead. I think that was a misplay in that respect. I should have just played the game slower against the Dory, but that's fine. It's very minor details. It was a long day, so it's just. But like, I would definitely recommend looking at just tutoring the Spirit for those matchups. Bolting Blade, we had this at 3 for the Battle Hardened. When I say we, me and my roommate play the same deck, and it's fine. We tested a lot, so. We had it at 3. We cut it down to 2. I bricked on it a lot. It's a block 3, but it doesn't get any benefit for charging. So it's like I would have to throw 4 sometime. I'd throw this just for 7, which is okay. If you have a 3-card hand 7, it's not amazing, but these are not charging, right? Charging gives you 1 extra value. It's not okay. So we would cut it to 2. And we added in Cataclysm. So we added in 2 Cataclysms, and this card has been overperforming in this deck. We generate so much soul. It is like late game is our best late game card. It blocks 3. It turns on everything. Like it's like 1 card 7 is fantastic. Like it does everything you wanted to and more. We might go up to 3. I'm not sure yet. Jury's out on it. We are working on it. It's really good. Light of Soul. This card is crazy. Like it'll lose you a game 1 in every 100 games because it's late game. And you don't have a block card. You're okay with that because it wins you about 10. And so like you just win so much. You get so much more value off this card. Going off of like Take Flight, things like that. This card's so good. Pitching in the versus Larry reads Great Courage, get a soul with this card. Like, you charge this card a lot. Like, it's very minimal downside. It only matters when you need to block. And you can soul bond it away that's like the one downside. It's crazy. Illumina, well, it's Lumina. We're going for single Lumina turns here. We can create doubles if we want to, triples, just a high roll. But yeah, we're shooting for singles. We're shooting for 3-card single Lumina turns. Simple as that, just to get the momentum back in our favor. We're trying to make our opponent slow down the game and get on our level. That's the idea. We're sitting here, chipping away, making sure that our life totals stay at parity, and we're going for it. We're going for the win in that respect. Prayer Balana, 3 of. Okay, so this is probably the most talked about card for Dust Off for Boltyn. Is this card good? This card is crazy. This card is a high roll card. Play this card. I can't accept. We have a Runeblade card in Boltyn. This is what Runeblades have to deal with, but it's so good. This generates so much degenerate shit when you need it. Just believe it's gonna hit. Don't play it if you don't need the high roll. Don't play this card. Just charge it. That's the thing. Like, you can charge or block with this, but if you need the high roll, like, it's there. We have to keep up somehow. Sometimes, like a deck will maybe roll us. We fall behind. This is a card that gets us back into the game. We can't not afford to not be playing this. I understand some people don't like that aspect of high rolliness. But with how consistent this deck is, having the 3 of, it enables all the chargers. Like, it's fine. And if you blame Prayer for missing and you losing the game, more than likely you're gonna lose the game anyways if you're playing this card correctly. Because you only should be playing Prayer if it's A, your only charge card, or B, you really need an explosive turn out of nowhere. So that's what Prayer does. It's really good. I recommend it. Spirit, Arena, let's go. Take Flight, yellow. So a lot of people are wondering why I'm on Take Flight red. Just doesn't fit the deck. I don't know. Like, we have the red space. Space is already allocated. We don't want more. We want to make sure that we can charge yellow every turn. We're already pushing kind of the limit of like drawing all red hands. And it happens once every 3 or 4 games where you draw an all red hand and it feels gross. We don't want that. So we play yellow instead. Sure, this is 1 value off, and it like hurts our draw my matchup since we're not playing red Take Flight, but it's fine. We're okay with it. We'd rather just play yellow. So V turns are still V turns. They're just not as crazy as if you don't have Tunic. You're playing with a 3 card. You're playing the 5 card V turn. Looks usually like activate versus, this is where it gets nuts. Activate versus, double charge with V. Go V, Boltyn Blade, swing Raiden. I Arsenal Boltyn Blade sometimes because it's the instant of V. I'll Arsenal it because we always can crown cards away. But yeah, it's a 19 damage turn, 5 card hand. It's okay, but it sets up your next turn too. You're playing for it because then you can play because they're gonna always let the weapon hit at the end of these V chains. It's too much damage to where they're just either A, I'm going to take the turn off and block out everything, or they're gonna look at V and be like, okay, like I'm gonna have to crack back at this because I need to keep up. V is such a crazy card. It's so good. Obviously with Spirit out, it does generate things with Lumina. Which again, this deck is really strong when you get your power cards of Beacon, Lumina, all those. We have a lot of power cards. Our ceiling's so high. We can lower it to make sure we're consistent at it. And last card, Valiant Thrust, yellow. I love this card. It's a 1 for 6. Can tutor it. I tutor it a lot on V turns with Beacon. Like, sure, just dump fucking 1 into it. It's a 1 for 7 a lot of times. And it feels great when you hit it off. It takes Flight, obviously. It's just a good combo card. Could be cut with Cataclysm, things like that. I think this is probably the most cuttable card. I like it, so I would still play it. Like, if I would, not sure what I would replace it over. This is like card we're talking about adding snatches to the list. But like, we're not sure if there ever replace Valiant Thrust, probably with Snatch, not like Red Snatch, but like we're working on it. Sideboard, Bucking Light. This card is crazy. This card is so good in Dromai. It's so good into Bravo. Like, it lets you stack I Beckoning Lighted a V Boltyn Courage on top against a Dromai player, and they didn't have a choice but to let me do it twice in a row to them. Like I did that, Beckoning Lighted into Boltyn Courage. Boltyn Courage hits, you get the stack the V, draw the V, you get the arsenal the V, and then you have a Boltyn Courage on top of your deck already because the Beckoning Light hit, it gets so dumb when you're playing into Dromai. It's also great into Bravo. It's great in any fatigue matchup, which again we'll get to here in a minute. But yeah, fantastic. Would recommend. Command and Conquer. This is how we win our Lexi matchup. That's all I gotta say. Card's just good. Sink below. We play this into some aggro matchups, some we don't. Played it where on-hit triggers are more relevant. So like into Ninja for trying to stop mash triggers, things like that, or like Katsu triggers. Like we play Sinks. Banner Protection only for Wizard and Runeblade. We shove them in. And Soul Shield is for Guardian. So we have Tunic. Tunic is in the sideboard because we can't beat Fatigue on Soul Bond. Playing value into Fatigue is not like you just don't present enough damage. Tunic allows us to present more damage with we can get these crazy V turns again. We can play it the more high release style. It's fine. It's less consistent, and we're okay with that because those matchups are so bad anyways. We'll just play it. Hill Missions for Kano, only Kano. Northern Gloves also for Kano and Icelander. Northern Hood's Icelander. We play AB2 and Icelander. But that's the deck. I think this deck is actually really strong, and I think I'm really close to like getting this 100% complete. So I guess I can quickly touch on some matchups here. So let's talk about some aggro matchups. So Lexi, a lot of people say they have trouble in Lexi. I think that's so incorrect. Ice Lexi, yeah, sure, I get that. We have trouble pitching into it, whatever. But like normal fuseless light ice Lexi, where they're not on chilling veins, they're only on like they're on ice quakes and things like that, and like like we should win those games still. Like that, those cards don't block that well. The deck doesn't block that well. We generate enough value against Lexi to where we can just beat them. Like we gain a life here and there. We throw a CNC. We can tutor CNC. That's the crazy thing. We get to tutor it. We Lumina. They don't want to block Lumina turns. And as soon as Lexi starts blocking at you, because they will, because they're going to feel the pressure, you win the game. Like if they don't start blocking against you, you also just have so much advantage from all the on hits you generate. You just have to know how to block their deck better than they know how to block yours. Because if we don't give a shit about what is it infecting shot anymore, because it's a bad card into us, because what it reads is, if we're on Soul Bond, instead of reading 2 for 8, it's a 2 for 7. Oh no, it's a 2 for 2 for 7. It's a 2 for 6, which is on rate. And if they're shooting an on rate card that has no actual on hit, because we're reducing the 1 damage from the Blood Rot with Soul Bond, we really don't. It's just 6 vanilla damage. It's as good as basically Red Searing Shot, and it costs them 1. It's actually worse than Red Searing Shot, right? Like, so we're okay with that. We just have to play our value game, make sure that they don't get the extra arsenal, get the card advantage. We're trying to prevent those on hits. So like anytime they try to get card advantage, we're just trying to prevent those. And like obviously everything comes down to game situation, but that's the big thing. So Rune Blades, a lot of people have trouble in Rune Blades too. Banneret Protection's crazy into Rune Blade. It literally just reads charge, gain a life. Also, when we have Salvation's also crazy into it because it forces blocks. Like it's just like we have ways to play around it. We can elongate these aggro games. It's like same with Ninja. We have these ways to just elongate these games. Ninja specifically, usually, so Fi has 1 blowout turn. We block out that turn. We win the value game. Pretty easy. Like, wipe off your hands, move on. We have a fridge for a reason. Katsu on your hands is going to be more difficult. We have to block. We're never playing a 5-card hand in that matchup unless it's really crazy. We always keep our equipment up in case they want to try to dishonor us. Like Soulbond charging into 2 block, and like it's fine. It covers dishonor. Like we can't get dishonored. We lose the game on the spot if we get dishonored. We can't afford to. So those are like our big aggro matchups there. We just want to try to gain life, try to put on pressure, try to play this mid-range plan. Just get value. We want to get value. We're playing Soulbond into all those matchups. Anything that is aggro, we're playing Soulbond into. Now let's go to Bravo. Bravo is super easy. We put in Soul Shield to put our D-Reacts. We're super favored in this matchup. It's crazy favored. Like it's dumb how favored it is. A lot of other things buff us, and if they can't buff us, we're forcing them to block cards, so then they're dominating us, and we just outvalue them because they throw 10 at us, we throw 7. They have to take at least 4 of that 7, otherwise they're not throwing much back at us. Some people say Bravo can fatigue us. They can't. We just have to, like, if we're using our cards to perfect value, they cannot fatigue us. It's really hard for them to do unless they're on like a massive fucking equipment suite, which most of them aren't. Like if they're running Shield and running Titan's Fist, like things like that. Just like, and even then, it's still really hard for them to fatigue. So you don't have to worry about that. We're super favored in Bravo. Just make sure you're swinging in your D-Rex in Arsenal when you can. Don't greed on turns. Like just take your time with the matchup. You will just inevitably win. That is how the matchup works. Let's see. Brute, so Reinar and Levia, because there's gonna be a lot of Levias now. Levia is our best matchup. Like it's like even though it's funny because like with Boltyn lore, Levia, like Levia is without a doubt our best matchup. We should just roll Levia, like play the matchup, practice it, know it because a lot of people are on the deck, but like we are very very favored into it. They have to block cards to get cards into their grave. So if they have to block cards to get cards into their grave to activate their like Dread Screamers and things like that, that means they're already losing value in 2 blocks. We have a very easy time making sure they can't stay at 13 life, so they never go consumed against us. It should be very hard for them to. Good Levia players will still find a way to do it, but you're okay with that because what happens a lot of times is like, so Levia will have to take a turn off to go consumed against us. They go consumed, and our crackback is we average 12 damage a turn at minimum. With a 4-card hand, like 11 to 12. Like if they're going to 13, if we have our slightly above average hand, which happens a lot, we will just say, okay, go consumed. We are now threatening lethal. Give me 1 card or 2 cards, and we're no longer at parity. Like we just stole the game away from them. Like the ways that we lose in the Levia is that they like you get high rolled. It's brute life, baby. Reiner, same thing. Like we're very favored in Reiner. They don't throw enough damage to, like, we just outvalue them. Because we're okay with blocking with most any card in our deck, so we don't really, Intimidate doesn't really read anything unless we have Illumina or V. But, yeah. So, those two, let's go into fatigue matchups. So, we're playing Tunic. So, Dromai. Dromai's super hard. This match, we're on 7 poppers. I have been fucking lost and thoughted 7 for 7 times, 8 for 8 times playing in person. It is so annoying. They remove a popper. Worst case is if the person even knows what they're doing against Boltyn, they'll lost and thought you, and then they'll just be like, okay, give me your only charge card in hand, and then you're like, okay, well I have a popper, but they're not gonna swing the dragon you want to pop, so you have to literally just throw a popper into dragon. That's your turn. It's a rough matchup. Dromai is not very fun to play against. It feels very high rolly, like whoever sees their shit first wins. It's whatever. I like, so if you have a lot of Dromais in your mana, I'm sorry, this deck is not made to beat that. It's very tough. You have to play perfectly, and if your Dromai has any brain cells on what Boltyn is doing, they should be able to read the situation pretty well to like just make you not have a great time. Dory, Yuzuri, you board the same. You just put your D-Reacts, things like that. So, yeah, it's just you're playing, again, the value game. You're okay with playing 2-card hands. You're okay with just losing your turn. This whole deck is, like, in every match, we're okay with just not having a turn. Blocking 12 is still fine. That's our floor. That's what I always say. Our floor is blocking 12. But, yeah, so, like, we're okay with blocking. So do that into Dory. Like, if you get punished by Twinning Blade, oh well, shit happens. But like Yuzuri the same way. Yuzuri, we have to play like Tunic. We're not even playing for a 5. We're playing for like a 4-card V turn. We need Spirit in these matchups. We have to have Spirit into Dory. We have to have Spirit out into Yuzuri. Like have to is like a word, but like it just makes the matchup go so much easier, especially Yuzuri. I will tutor Spirit every time I go into Yuzuri if I don't see him. Dash is an interesting deck. So Dash is a deck that we're very favored into. If they're on aggro, we fatigue them. Our cards block 12. We have good fruit. We have good D-Reacts. Now the problem is if they're on Tree Frog and we're on Soulbond, we can't actually do anything about it. We struggle into fatigue on Soulbond, so we have to play Tunic into the matchup. And then we're just gonna get a field. So if they're on Tree Frog, we just play like as if it's Dory or Yuzuri, get our Spirit out and try to go to town, set up a big beacon bomb for the end of the game, blow them out of the water. And then if it's not Tree Frog, the matchup kind of just plays itself. So that's that. Wizard, I know a lot of people have been asking me because of my record against Icelanders. Like I've won. I beat 2 Icelanders when I was on going for my Pro Quest season. When I beat 2 Icelanders, and people were asking me then. I was on Jubil at the time. Now I'm not on Jubil, but I beat one this weekend at the battle. Last weekend at the Battle Harden. Um, Matchup's hard. Get lucky. It's all I can really say. Practice it. Practice it. Practice it. We're on AB2 now. Don't be afraid to just take turns off if there is a what's it called on board, the thing that makes you discard or pay 2 resources if ice card card is fused. Insidious Chill. There you go. I got there. Don't be afraid to like just take the turn off. It sucks. It's awful. This matchup's a headache to play. It feels great to win though. It does not feel like it doesn't feel bad to lose. We just kind of go into expecting it. But when you win this game, it feels better for you than it would for the Icelander because you definitely did something right in the matchup, and the Icelander fucked up somewhere. This would be it's not a 10% loss matchup anymore. It should be around 20 to 25% if you're on Soul Bond, if you know what you're doing. I think with AB2, it bumps it up to about 35% win rate. It's so hard. Just get reps into it. I don't know what really else to tell you. You'll find openings. You'll always find an opening. You just have to be ready for it. It's all practice. It's all practice, practice, practice. And even with the practice, you're not going to win half the games you still play into this. Kano is, I would say, free now. Soulbond is crazy. If they're on Wildfire combo, it's really free. If they're on Brainstorm Kano, we experienced that matchup. We have a local that does it. They kind of shit on us. We just don't do enough damage, and their Brainstorm combo is just harder to prevent than Wildfire. The reason why we're so good into Wildfire is because they have to hold on to so many cards. And like they can't, like they're not stalling out, like they're stalling out turns, and like they don't have D reacts. Like we just I don't know, we just outpace them better. We outpace Wildfire combo better because they can't blow us up, so they have to just throw bits and pieces of arcane at us. And if they're trying to blow us up, we just win the game on the spot because they have no idea what they're doing. Soulbond starts that. Spellbond Aegis is like really crazy in this, like our Banneret protection. It gains 1 life. Basically, we're starting against Kano. We're starting at 41 life at minimum with Halo 43. With and then obviously this is damage reduction on the Wildfire turn. So like it goes to like 43, and then if we block that with Wildfire, we're gaining X more life for each card they play. Very good. But yeah, I would say the cards in general, I like this deck a lot. Definitely recommend getting reps in on it. Or again, playing 2-3 card hands a lot. We're pitching versus on our turns that we might be playing a Valiant Thrust, like charging, pitching for Valiant, pitching for versus, swinging, playing Valiant Thrust, pitching for versus, swinging Raiden. It happens a lot. Again, it's only a 4-card hand that we can do that with. Our 4-card hands are really strong. Our 3-card hands are even stronger. Our 5-card hands can be hit or miss. We just play 4 good 5-card hands. They will come. That is what the deck is built to do. Bannerettes are what's crazy in this deck. This is the buff that Boltyn got, was not having negative intelligence every turn he plays the game. He is very strong. I don't think this deck is figured out 100% yet, but I know the mid-range plan is really good. It makes all the matchups closer to a 50-50. We're only very unfavored into ice decks because we can just get controlled out of the game. Even then, we can still win those games because we know what's going on. If you know what's going on, you can play the deck through it. Like you can pilot it through it. So that's it for this deck tech. Again, deck's fun. Make the changes. Try things out. Deck's not figured out. Boltyn's a fun deck to play. Give it a go. But yeah, so I will talk to you guys later. I might do some games here later, but for right now, this is what I got. So see you guys.